Either give Evan your credit card or leave. We're not your personal charity. My daughter's voice cut through the kitchen like a blade. Then, without warning, the coffee cup tipped. Scalding liquid spilled across my lap, seeping through thin fabric, turning heat into pain. Porcelain shattered on the floor, scattering like jagged memories. Karen stood over me, arms folded, her tone flat, like reading from a company policy manual. I looked down, the dark stain spreading across my trousers. Steam curling into the air. The sharp smell of bitter coffee rose as broken pieces skittered across the tile. I didn't move. Not right away. The burn hurt, but it didn't match the ache rising in my chest. That silence, hers, mine, was final. She didn't see me as her father anymore. Just an obstacle, an account to be drained, a presence to be tolerated, then erased. What she mistook for submission was something else entirely. A promise was forming in that quiet, not a threat, but a vow. This debt wouldn't be paid with money. It would be paid in consequence. Karen turned away first. That stung more than the coffee. No flinch, no apology, just cold indifference. She rinsed her hands at the sink, like nothing had happened. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be, Dad," she said without turning. "Evan needs this. You're sitting on money you barely touch. What's the point if you won't help your own family?" She said. Family. Like it was just another word. Evan sat across from me, face lit by his phone, not even pretending to care. 16, already fluent in entitlement. He wanted $6,000 for a gaming setup, as if asking for a glass of water. Karen defended him like a lawyer with a client. I reached for a napkin and dabbed at my legs. The skin stung. Deeper than the burn was the ache that came from seeing how little I now mattered. I knew fire. I'd faced real flames in my 30 years as a firefighter. I'd seen what fire did to skin, to homes, to lives, but this was worse. This was contempt. "I'm not giving him my card," I said, my voice quiet but solid. She turned, arms crossed, wearing a smirk I didn't recognize. "You're lucky. We let you stay here after your surgery," she said. "You couldn't walk without my help. I managed your meds, your groceries, everything, and now you want to lecture me." Every word landed like a blow. Still, I didn't argue. I didn't shout. My silence only fed her frustration. "Then this is your choice," she said. "Give him the card, or be out by the end of the day." "That's final." I stood, slowly, carefully. The pain in my legs flared. I met her eyes. "I'll be gone before sunset," I said. She blinked. Just once. Surprise. She'd expected pleading. She expected shame. I gave her neither. Only a quiet promise. I turned and walked away. My steps were slow, deliberate, each one carrying the weight of 1,000 choices. The hallway seemed longer than usual. The photos on the wall stared back like ghosts. Karen at 6, missing teeth, and holding a stuffed rabbit. Her mother beside her, radiant in the sunlight, a graduation photo. Karen and me, shoulder to shoulder, her face full of ambition, mine etched with pride. I paused at that one. I thought I'd done well. I thought my sacrifices meant something, but the woman in the kitchen wasn't the girl in that photo. Or maybe I had never really seen who she was becoming. in the guest room. The air was faintly sterile. Laundry soap and something medicinal. My suitcase sat in the closet, untouched. I pulled it down. It felt heavier than I remembered. Pain tugged at my hip. Old pain. Familiar. I could live with it. I opened the nightstand drawer and retrieved an envelope I had tucked away months ago. Inside, copies of my birth certificate, insurance cards, and my bank's routing number on a torn piece of paper. At the time, I hadn't known why I hid them. Now I did. A part of me had always known this moment would come. I packed with care. Every shirt folded neatly, every pair of socks tucked just so. The television hummed from the living room. Laughter. Karen's laugh. Evan's too. Not once did they knock. Not once did they ask if I was all right. I found a small pouch at the back of the drawer. Mary's pearl ring. I hadn't seen it in years. I held it in my palm, feeling the familiar smoothness. I whispered her name. Mary. No one heard. It centered me. The sun began its descent outside. Shadows stretched across the floor. I zipped the suitcase shut. A clean, final sound. I looked again at the graduation photo. The girl in that frame was someone I had believed in. But she was gone. What remained had traded compassion for control. Love for leverage. I sat on the edge of the bed and waited. Eventually, I pulled out the old notebook I used to scribble grocery lists in. On the final page, account numbers. Mine. A quiet insurance policy I had forgotten until now. Karen had taken the credit card. But she hadn't taken this. I slipped it into my pocket. Then I found the old laptop. Dusty. Forgotten. When I tried to log in, I failed. Twice. Then I remembered a sticky note tucked into my Bible. Mary's handwriting. Beneath it, a password in mine. I typed it in. It worked. My name appeared on the screen. It was strange how seeing your name could feel like reclaiming something. Identity. Ownership. Existence. Then came the reality. Transaction after transaction. Charges I didn't recognize. Online retailers, streaming platforms, food delivery. Thousands gone. And then the electronics. Evan's purchases, stolen under the guise of care. But buried among them was one entry she'd missed. A deposit from my firefighters' union. Disability funds. Untouched. Still mine. I printed the bank records. The old printer sputtered like a dying engine. But it gave me what I needed. Each page a quiet testament. Each line proof that I hadn't imagined it. My phone was on the nightstand. I scrolled through old contacts. Most names were ghosts, retired, moved, or gone. But one remained. Mark, a friend, a former neighbor, a lawyer. I called. Richard, he answered, his voice familiar. Everything okay? No, I said, but it will be. Where are you? He asked. I'm coming to get you. I ended the call, breathing deeper than I had in months. Laughter echoed faintly from the living room again. They thought I was finished. That the suitcase meant defeat. They were wrong. I slipped the printed records into the suitcase. The zip felt like a lock snapping shut. I glanced at the graduation photo once more, then turned it face down. They took me for silence, for weakness, for surrender. But they forgot the most important thing about fires. Sometimes, what walks out of the flames isn't what walked in. Something had changed. I could see it now. Ambition, calculation, Maybe even that quiet kind of greed that doesn't feed on strangers, but on the ones closest to you. A knock at the door. Not loud, but steady. My chest clenched, then relaxed when I heard his voice. "It's me, Rich." I stood, picked up the suitcase, and slid the notebook into my jacket pocket. The lamp flickered as I turned it off, the room darkening. The hallway stretched ahead, lined with photos that looked less like memories now, and more like reminders of what I'd ignored. Karen at 6 with her stuffed rabbit, 12 in her soccer jersey, graduation cap at 22. Each image stared at me as I walked past, asking why I hadn't seen this coming. At the door, Mark stood zipped into his navy jacket, watching me with eyes that had seen more than they said. He looked down at the suitcase, then back up. "You ready?" I nodded. The house behind me glowed warm. False, soft light spilling onto the lawn. The road ahead was dark, uncertain, but it was mine. The door shut behind me. Karen thought she'd ended me tonight. Thought her words, her threat, the coffee she threw would break something. But she mistook silence for surrender. Stillness for weakness. She was wrong. Mark didn't say much on the drive. Just let the car roll forward, headlights slicing through patches of night. The streetlights flickered past on the dash. I kept the folder tight under my arm, like I was shielding something small and breakable. When he turned into the driveway, he did it calmly, the way I always admired. A steady hand, even when the flames were real. "Watch your hip," he said. No drama in the words, just fact. He started to grab my suitcase, but I kept hold. I needed to feel the weight of it. Inside, the house smelled like furniture polish and old coffee. A lamp lit the dining room. 2 mugs already out. A yellow legal pad in the center of the table, a pen laid carefully across it. He'd been ready before I knew I'd ask. We sat. He let the silence sit with us. No rushing past it. I opened the folder and spread the documents. Bank records. Strange purchases. Lines of numbers that didn't belong to my life. The deposit from the Firemen's Union was still there, untouched. Maybe she never knew it existed, or maybe she didn't care. I pulled the notebook out last. She poured coffee on me. I said. The words felt too small, too light. Once they were out, told me to hand over my card, or be out by sunset. Mark said nothing at first. He picked up a statement, slid his glasses down from his head, and started reading. Right away, his whole posture shifted. The neighbor I'd shared beers with became the man who'd helped more families than he could count get out from under their own wreckage. Not flashy, just competent. How long since you saw any of this? Months. Maybe more. She made it all paperless. Said it was easier. Said it was to help. He made a low sound. Maybe a laugh, maybe not. He tapped a number with his pen. 11.99. Different dates. This is a premium streaming package. 3 of them. You watch these? No. I watch the news and the occasional ball game. He moved lower on the page. Circled another patch of numbers. Late night electronics. In-game purchases. A pattern, not a mistake. He wrote, Ivan, next to it, not asking, just calling it what it was. When he got to the union deposit, he looked up. She hasn't touched this. She didn't know it was there, or didn't think it mattered. He pointed at the notebook. What's in there? My handwriting, my numbers. Last page. I wrote them down months ago. Didn't know why. Now I do. He flipped it open gently. Read. I watched his glasses reflect my life in little digits. Okay, he said, and it carried weight. He pushed the legal pad toward himself. Let's build a timeline. Charges, dates, what you remember, where you were. No drama. Just facts. I nodded. This isn't revenge, he said. It's documentation. We let the paper speak. We started 6 months back when I stopped seeing bank mail. The time she insisted on taking my bag from the pharmacy. The week she said, the bridge club wasn't for me anymore. Did you give her power of attorney? No. She mentioned it. Something about helping with health forms. I never signed. He nodded, shifted something behind his eyes. Good, that matters. We worked for hours. When I needed to stand, I rinsed our mugs at the sink. He said, sit, like he was still coaching rookies on unstable roofs. I ignored him. Small dignity. I brought the mugs back. Tomorrow, he said, we go to the bank. Calm. Specific. Ask for a fraud investigator. Bring these papers. He laid it all out. Freeze the card review. The last 6 months. Open a new account at a credit union. Move the union deposit reset. Online credentials. She set up my email. I said, don't even know if it's mine. He grabbed the laptop. Let's check. It took 5 tries. Finally got in. My inbox was a mess. Dozens of messages unread. Then we found it. A rule rerouting every message with bank or statement in the subject to her email. Mark didn't curse. Just printed it. Won't look good for her, he said. Another rule. Emails from my friends archived in a folder called Health. Messages from old firehouse buddies, cookout invites, grandkid photos. All hidden. We printed that too. Then utilities. Still billing to my account. Her lights, her heat, her internet, all paid with my money. I never told her she could do that. I said. Sounded foolish the moment I said it. You didn't have to. He replied. She made sure you couldn't say no. He stepped into the hallway. Called someone. She's from senior protection, he said when he returned. No badge, but bank managers sit straighter when she's in the room. You think they'll believe me? They'll believe the paper, and the man who walked in with it, calm and clean. We kept going. He brought out a wooden box of forms. Revocation letters, fraud affidavits, checklists written in his neat hand. He handed me one. Fill this out. It's for anything they say you gave permission for. I wrote. The pen felt heavy. The paper too bright. I did not authorize. It felt strange, like writing a confession in reverse. But necessary. When he asked about the deed to my house, I laughed. No idea where the original is. Karen moved the files. Said she was organizing. Did you ever add her to the title? No. He nodded. Then it's still yours. She's just living there. That matters. I breathed. For the first time in what felt like weeks. The house wasn't lost. It was still mine. Tomorrow, he repeated. Bank, recorder's office, credit union, post office. She might have redirected my mail, I added. He didn't question it. Just wrote it down. At 200 a.m., the kettle whistled. We made tea. We scanned documents. We stacked the pages like sandbags against the flood. By 300, he told me the guest room was ready. Lock on the inside. Not a comfort. A protection. He put a hand on my arm. Not to stop me. Just to acknowledge that I'd passed through something hard. We'll let the paper talk, he said. In bed, I kept my clothes on. Habit, not fear. The burn from the coffee ached, but it was a wound, not a sentence. Eventually I slept. By 700 a.m., we were at the small branch on Main. The manager brought us into his office. When he saw Mark's presence, not his badge, the way he carried truth. 10 minutes later, the woman from Senior Protection arrived. Firm handshake, steady eyes, a folder thicker than ours. She sat down like someone who takes only the space she needs, and not an inch more.